The average American dies with $62,000 in debt, not because they didn't earn enough, but because nobody ever taught them how to keep it. I was one of those people. At 27, my bank account was negative $400. My credit cards were maxed out, and I kept asking myself, where does all my money go? I was working full-time, I wasn't living lavishly, but somehow, every single month, I ended up with nothing left. Sound familiar? In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what I did to flip that around, saving $18,000 in just 14 months on a regular salary, no fancy side hustle, no inheritance, no lucky break, just a system that actually works. And I'm going to give you that system today, step by step, so you can start using it before this video is even over. Oh, and stick around to the end because I'm going to tell you the #1 mistake that 90% of people make when they try to budget. It's not what you think, and it's probably the exact reason you've tried before and it didn't stick. Let's get into it. Here's the truth that nobody in the personal finance world wants to say out loud. Your inability to save money is not a willpower problem. It is not a discipline problem. It is a system problem. We live in a world where $17 trillion worth of marketing is working against you every single day. Amazon, Netflix, DoorDash, Starbucks. These companies hire the best behavioral psychologists in the world specifically to make sure you spend more than you planned. Their entire business model depends on your impulse decisions. So trying to out-willpower a billion-dollar psychological machine is a losing battle. The only thing that beats it is a system so simple and so automatic that you don't have to think about it. That's what we're building today. But before you can save a single dollar, you need to answer one honest question. Where is your money actually going right now? And I know that sounds obvious, but I promise you, most people have no real idea. They have a rough feeling, a vague sense, but not the actual numbers. So here's what I want you to do. Open your banking app right now, or as soon as this video ends, and scroll back 60 days. Look at every transaction, every single one. Here's what the average American in their early 30s is spending each month. About $1,800 on rent or mortgage, around $700 on car payments, gas, and auto insurance combined, roughly $600 on food, and that includes both groceries and eating out. And then here's the one that always shocks people. The average American is spending $219 every single month on subscriptions they've forgotten about. $219. That's $2,600 a year quietly leaving your account for streaming services you don't watch, gym memberships you don't use, free trials you signed up for and never canceled. Gone in complete silence. So that's your first action step. Find those subscriptions. If you want to do it fast, apps like Rocket Money or Trim will automatically scan your accounts and find every recurring charge. Most people who do this find at least 2 or 3 things they didn't even know they were still paying for. That alone can put hundreds of dollars back in your pocket every year without changing a single habit. Now, once you know where your money is going, you need a framework for where it should be going. You've probably heard of the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of your income goes to needs, housing, food, transportation. 30% goes to wants, entertainment, dining out, hobbies, and 20% goes to savings and paying down debt. On paper, it's a clean, simple system, and it genuinely works for a lot of people. But here's the reality. If you live in a high cost of living city like Los Angeles, New York, or San Francisco, your rent alone might eat up 40 or 50% of your take-home pay. So the numbers don't always work out perfectly, and that's okay. The percentages are flexible, but the one number you never negotiate down to zero is savings. Even if you can't hit 20%, start with 10%, start with 5%, start with whatever you can, because the amount matters less than the habit. The single most important thing you can do for your financial future is this: pay yourself first. Not after you pay your bills, not after you buy groceries. First. The moment your paycheck hits your account, a portion of it automatically moves to savings before you even have a chance to spend it. Set up an automatic transfer for the day you get paid, even if it's just $50 or $100 to start. Make it automatic so it requires zero decision-making from you, because every time you have to consciously decide to save, you're giving yourself the opportunity to talk yourself out of it. And this brings me to something your grandparents actually got right. Back in the day, people used what's called the envelope method. Every month, they'd divide their cash into physical envelopes, one for groceries, one for gas, one for entertainment. When the envelope was empty, the spending stopped. No envelope, no money, no purchase. It was brutally simple, and it worked. Now, obviously, nobody's walking around with envelopes full of cash in 2025, but the psychology behind it is just as powerful today as it was 50 years ago. The idea of giving every dollar a specific job, assigning it a purpose before you spend it, is one of the most effective budgeting strategies ever studied. The modern version of this is an app called YNAB, which stands for You Need a Budget. The whole concept is that every dollar you earn gets assigned to a category the moment it lands in your account. Rent, groceries, car, savings, fund money, everything has a bucket. And you can only spend from a bucket that has money in it. People who use YNAB consistently save an average of $6,000 in their first year. That's not a typo, $6,000. If you want something free, Good Budget is a solid alternative, or honestly, a simple Google Sheets template works just fine. I'll drop a link to the one I use in the description. It takes about 5 minutes to set up, and you can start today. Okay, now I want to give you 5 practical tips that actually move the needle. Not the generic skip your morning coffee advice you've heard 1,000 times. Real stuff. The first one is the 24-hour rule. Any purchase over $30 that isn't a planned, necessary expense, wait 24 hours before buying it. Just close the tab, walk away from the store, sleep on it. If you still want it the next day, go ahead and buy it, guilt-free. But about 80% of the time, you'll wake up the next morning and the urge will be completely gone. That's how much of our spending is pure impulse. One rule, no willpower required, and you'll be shocked how much it saves you. The second tip is about groceries, which is one of the biggest categories where people bleed money without realizing it. Never go to the grocery store hungry. This is actually backed by research. Studies show that people spend an average of $17 more per trip when they shop hungry. That sounds small, but if you grocery shop once a week, that's nearly $900 a year just from shopping on an empty stomach. Eat something first. Make a list. Stick to it. Done. Third, negotiate everything. Americans have this cultural aversion to negotiation, like asking for a better rate is somehow rude or embarrassing. But here's the reality. If you call your car insurance company, your internet provider, or your credit card company and tell them you're considering switching to a competitor, the success rate for getting a lower rate is around 70%. 70%. I called my insurance company last year, mentioned I'd been looking at a competitor's rates, and they dropped my premium by $240 for the year. That phone call took 8 minutes. That's $30 a minute for doing basically nothing. Fourth, never keep your savings in your checking account. This is huge. If your savings and your spending money live in the same place, the savings will disappear. Guaranteed. Instead, open a high-yield savings account. Right now, banks like Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Ally, and SoFi are offering around 4 to 5% APY. That means your money's actually growing while it sits there. Your emergency fund, your vacation fund, your down payment fund, all of it should be in a high-yield account, completely separate from your day-to-day spending, making money on its own while you sleep. And fifth, use cash back strategically. Cards like Chase Freedom Unlimited or Citi Double Cash give you 1.5 to 2% back on everything you buy. If you're already spending $2,000 a month on normal expenses, that's up to $480 back per year for doing absolutely nothing different. Free money. The only rule, and this is non-negotiable, you pay the full balance every single month, not the minimum, the full balance. The moment you start carrying a balance, interest charges will wipe out every cent of cash back you earned and then some. If you can't pay it off in full, don't put it on the card. Simple as that. Now, I want to come back to the promise I made at the start of this video, the number one mistake that kills most people's budgets before they ever get going. It's this: They create a perfect budget on a Sunday night. They feel motivated and organized and in control. And then on Wednesday, they overspend their dining category by $20 because life happened. And they tell themselves the whole thing is ruined and give up entirely. And then next month, same cycle. I've done it. You've probably done it. Almost everyone has done it. But here's what I need you to understand. A budget is not a perfect plan that you either follow completely or abandon completely. It is a flexible, living tool that you adjust every single month based on what actually happened. Overspending one category doesn't mean you failed. It means you have information. It means you now know where your real spending patterns are and you can plan better next month. The people who actually build wealth over time don't have perfect budgets. They just don't quit when things get messy. The only difference between someone who saves consistently and someone who doesn't is that the person who saves just starts again the next day instead of waiting for a fresh start next month or next year or when things calm down. Start again tomorrow. Start again today. The perfect time to start is always right now. So, here's your action plan for this week. Pull up your banking app and find every subscription you're not actively using. Cancel them today. Set up an automatic transfer to a high-yield savings account for the day you get paid, even if it's just $50 or $100 to start. Make it a list before you go to the grocery store and stick to what's on that list. And pick one budgeting system, whether that's YNAB, Good Budget, or a simple Google Sheets, and set it up before the weekend. That's it. 4 steps. None of them require a raise. None of them require you to completely change your lifestyle. They just require you to start. If this video helped you at all, hit subscribe because I put out videos every week on personal finance, building savings, and actually growing wealth from zero. Not theory, just real practical stuff that works. And drop a comment below. Tell me what your savings goal is for the next 6 months. I want to keep you accountable. Your future self is watching every dollar you spend today. Make it count.